to another edition of Heavy in the Paint. Gerald Brown here, hanging out. And make sure that you know what? You follow me, all the information there at Gerald BLS, G Brown Sports. Leave comments, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And you know what? Make sure you leave some comments. Let me know how you like this thing we have going on here. So it's always great to have on some amazing guests, but I think a lot of the times it really takes away the opportunity to really get a lot of things off my chest that I don't get a chance to get off my chest during the Bottom Line Sports Show every Saturdays, 10 a.m. 1 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86, and of course on your SiriusXM app. So I wanted to take this time to really get on my soapbox, as I like to say. Get on my soapbox, put my educated glasses on, make me look even more astute, but also talk about this upcoming Super Bowl. And make no mistake, the NFL does a great job in marketing their product. And their product is unlike any other. No other professional sport can rival what the NFL does, right? They hold us pretty much captivated with every week. Fantasy football, betting, but they keep us glued to everything. And think about it. In basketball, in the NBA, you're not going to watch, no disrespect, not going to watch Memphis Grizzlies versus the Washington Wizards, right? And I mean no disrespect. You're not going to watch that. But if it's the Washington Commanders versus the Seattle Seahawks, right? Or the Carolina Panthers, perfect example. You're going to watch that. At least I am. You're going to be tuned in and glued to that game for the simple reason online betting, fantasy football, and you want to see what's going on. It's kind of like we're conditioned for the NFL. And these playoffs have been unbelievable. But now we're here at the big game. And after the San Francisco 49ers beat the Detroit Lions, everybody's Cinderella, it became a situation of what's the storyline? At least for me, I always try to come up with what's the storyline going to be going into the Super Bowl. So before, the conspiracy theorists was saying that it's all about, from the colors, you could tell it's going to be, San Fran versus Baltimore, or, Baltimore versus San Fran, or San Fran and whatever. I mean, it was just the whole thing. And I actually bought into a little of that. But a step further, once San Francisco disposed of Detroit Lions and the Ravens lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, I kept feeling like the storyline for this, what was it going to be? And I think, honestly, it's going to be Taylor Swift. That's going to be the storyline, and it's going to be painful. They're probably going to have a Taylor camera. She's already announced that at the Grammys, she's got her new album coming out. So the NFL, to their credit, is not going to do anything about it because we're glued and conditioned to watch the games. We're going to watch it. We're going to sit there. We're going to be glued to the TV, and all the Swifties are going to be there with us as well. And to satisfy the Swifties, the NFL is going to probably put a camera on Taylor constantly. So get ready for it. It's all about business. This is a great money-making opportunity for the networks, CBS, for their advertisers, and the league itself. But the biggest thing is, beside from that, what is the storyline? Are we going to say Brock Purdy can match up with Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. There's no way. There's no storyline there. Can we say the San Francisco 49ers with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, can that match up with Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashid Rice. Where's the storyline, right? Because I think the biggest thing is what we've seen from these two teams. What I've seen is simply this. We always wanted to say the narrative was, okay, can Kansas City win outside of Arrowhead? These playoffs is really going to tell us a lot. And all that they have done, they've gone to Buffalo, won. Going to Baltimore, won. Yeah, they had a home game against Miami, took care of business. And everybody was saying, including yours truly, this is if Baltimore was going to beat them, this was their opportunity to exercise all the misfortunes of the past, the demons, whatever you want to call it. This was their moment. Couldn't get it done. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Baltimore has been unstoppable this year, let alone at home. What we witnessed, what they did to San Fran out in Santa Clara, took them apart, piece by piece. What does Kansas City do? Go in there and take care of business. Then on the flip side of that, when I look at the 49ers went into this game, and look, let's be honest. They should have lost to Green Bay. Kicker kicks a couple field goals, makes his field goals. Different story. Definitely should have lost to Detroit, where a lot of people was up there. So they've had two close encounters that really, if we look at it, have they shown their dominance? Like they and give them credit, they capitalized on both teams' errors and mistakes. So they left the door open and they just came through right on in and made themselves at home. But when I look at the Chiefs, I just keep coming back. The fact of the matter is there a team out there that can play with them? Like right now, the Chiefs are winning not only on talent, but I think really from a psychological standpoint. Because you don't know what they're going to do. And better yet, do you have the right, even if you have the successful right defense, that doesn't stop Patrick Mahomes from being able to improvise, make plays on the fly with his legs, extending plays. So it's almost everything that they've done is psychologically, he's going to make plays for them. And I look at that and I say, right now, what on paper shows you that you can sit back and say, man, you know what? Kansas City is just so stacked. I mean, they're just so stacked. You could definitely be. No, mentally right now, they have ascended to that point that they are essentially beating teams from a psychological standpoint. I mean, to go into Baltimore and essentially establish the pace of the game and dominate, that was very fascinating because they didn't run the score up. They didn't score at will, none of that stuff. But they capitalized on any and every mistake the Ravens made. So it's almost like you have to play a perfect game. Because if you do anything wrong, they are going to capitalize on that. And this is very reminiscent of the last team that we witnessed some type of a run like that, and that's the New England Patriots when they had Tom Brady at the helm. Great teams. They don't make mistakes, or better yet, if they do make mistakes, you have to play a perfect game to beat them. And Baltimore was the number one seed. Baltimore was dominant. This was the year that everything, it wasn't even supposed to get to Baltimore. It was supposed to be Buffalo, who I think really, in some sense, they still haven't recovered from that overtime loss to Kansas City a few years back. Because think about it. Ever since that game, there's been so many questions. Even more so with Stephon Diggs and how much of a distraction has led to with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and all of these other underlying situations. This was the year, and Kansas City went into the Lions' den and made themselves at home with their bend but don't break defense. So when I look at San Francisco, you're going to have to play a perfect game. Detroit came out with a high-powered offense and was ready to rock and roll and rock, and did all of that. And look, I don't blame Dan Campbell one bit. Should you kick the field goal and put points on the board? Absolutely. But you're playing the number one seed in the NFC. You're playing the number one seed at home. And you know that essentially you're going to have to continue to put points up there, because it wasn't a question of if the 49ers were going to make a run. It was just when. And if you had the points on the board to be able to sustain that run and play with the lead during the course of this run, as opposed to playing from behind. And I look at the 49ers, they got off to a slow start. And pretty much their games got off to a slow start. Can they do that against the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't think so. And it's going to be a lot of questions associated with that, and to see how it plays out with them. And if the Chiefs so happen to win this, which I'm going to make my predictions at the end, what does it say about the dynasty? You know, it's interesting because they took down the last dynasty, and that being Tom Brady, I started to say Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the New England Patriots. And now they have ascended to that dynasty, because now, let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes will have 3, barring any injuries. He's probably going to get a few more. But when I look at them, it's the question of who can stop them, right? Can the 49ers stop them? I don't think so. I'm going to make my picks. But when I look at the dynasty that's already in place, no matter how you slice and dice it, who can stop them? Now, I do believe that there is a team out there other than themselves being able to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. But you just think about the fortunes of a guy like Andy Reid. You know, he was a guy that couldn't win the big one. So many things, unbelievable offensive mind, loved by so many when he was adored in Philadelphia. And now he goes to Kansas City. And now he's just on an unbelievable run with already 2 Super Bowl wins. But that just goes to show, when you have great ones, when you have great talented players, a lot of things go out the window. Talent will win all the time. All the time. Greatness, I should say, wins all the time. When you're great, and seeing this run that they have been on and his work ethic of that of Patrick Mahomes, that team understands and locked in that they know how to manage a season. There's no sense of panic, and barring any injury and them not beating themselves, because let's be honest, it's a long season for them. They're playing 17 plus games, and they're going deep into the season. But with that being said, I had said so many times before, anybody listen, the team that I really believe that is the only threat to the Kansas City Chiefs and their dynasty is pretty much the last team to beat them in the playoffs. And that being the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, when you look at that Cincinnati Bengals team, the first time they beat them, they showed the recipe for success, which is you have to be able to capitalize on all facets of the game. Defense, offensively, you got to have a good running back. You got to be able to extend the drives. Special teams. Evan McPherson became a star, the kicker for the Cincinnati Bengals. Became a star. And you look at the talent that they have offensively, the Cincinnati Bengals, provided they are able to still keep a lot of their key guys together, from T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, and then obviously Joe Burrow, even with a terrible offensive line that year, they were able to go into Arrowhead and were one of the only teams to be able to successfully beat them. And then keep in mind, going into the regular season, all of a sudden, when they faced each other, it was the Bengals being in every game, not showing that they weren't a fluke. And I think quietly, that is the team that the Chiefs worry about. Because this year, if they were healthy and able to overcome that sluggish start that they get off to every year, they had the best chance of beating Kansas City Chiefs. Because going into Cincinnati, the Chiefs were not going to have their way because they can match them offensively, model, and defensively. They have done a decent job against the Chiefs. So without the only team that I think is the kryptonite to Patrick Mahomes, I don't think they fear any team in the league. They do not fear any team, and barring any injuries, I don't think that there's another team out there that can stop this dynasty, provided people get healthy, stay healthy, injury-free. And then also, too, it's a lack of quality quarterbacks in the NFL. When you look at the AFC, I've already mentioned about Joe Burrow, but Lamar Jackson is going to be NFL MVP. Whatever they did and decided to do, how much of a difference it was this year in that playoffs and that championship, not being themselves. Can't beat them. When it comes to Josh Allen, hey, can't beat them. After that, it's a toss-up. I'm not Trevor Lawrence, all these other guys, no disrespect, none. Like people say Aaron Rodgers, maybe, but is that more so off of track record, history, as opposed to seeing them do what they have to do? Don't know. There's a lack of quality quarterback play. And if you go to the NFC, Brock Purdy understands his role. Is he a game manager? I wouldn't say that. But he's still growing into the position. So it's a lot of the training wheels being taken off, but it's a lot of on-the-job training. The training wheels are off somewhat, but it's still monitoring. And I just don't see the quality quarterback play from Dak Prescott. None of the guys there. None of that. That's why you had so much turnover in the NFL as a whole with head coaches. Because at the end of the day, you only go as far as that quarterback back there. If you got quality quarterback play, you got a fighting chance. And right now, I think that a lot of the stuff that's happening, unless a quarterback out of nowhere emerges, it's going to be a dominant run by the Kansas City Chiefs. So, in closing, who's my pick for this game? I'm picking Kansas City. And I think clearly this could be a game, 35-14, Kansas City. Looking at San Francisco, make it interesting. But just so much pressure that you worry about with the offense. Like, I don't know, Chris Jones is so dominant that I guess with him being the focal point on the defense, it's opened up so much for the other guys. And Chris Jones has been worth every penny that he's gotten and then some from the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo and the job he's done as defensive coordinator, it's been unbelievable. I think this is going to be a game 35-14. It's not going to be close. So now just prepare yourself. You're going to see a lot of Taylor Swift. And it's going to be all about the Swifties. And then after that, what we'll learn is, you know what? Patrick Mahomes is very, very special. And just think, he'll have 3 Super Bowl championship wins. 3. And I think he's what, 4 behind? 4 or 5 behind that guy, Tom Brady. He's got 3. So he's got to get at least, a couple more, 4 of them. He's got to get some more. He's not close to Tom Brady, but it's all set up because the lack of quality quarterback play, it really becomes a situation where inevitably, I don't think anything slows him down. So he gets 3. He's still 4 behind Tom Brady. And that just really says a lot. Enjoy the game, be able to break it all down. I had to get off my soapbox. I hope you come back. Make sure you subscribe next week. It's going to be NBA talk, and I got a whole bunch of people that want to talk NBA. Yeah, I got on the Knicks and stuff like that, and I'm still not done with that. But it's going to be so much wall-to-wall action. That's why it's heavy in the paint. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Peace.